My name is Rachel Du, and I'm a specialist in the Chinese Works of Art department at Bonham's in Los Angeles. Bonham's was founded in 1793, and we are a global auction house specializing in categories such as fine art, collectibles, jewelry, and automobiles. We have sale rooms globally in locations such as New York, London, Hong Kong, Paris, Los Angeles, and Australia. Today, I will be sharing briefly the history of collecting Chinese art, as well as what collectors are looking for today in the market. Chinese art collecting has a very long history, stemming as far back as the Tang and Song dynasties in China. During that period, a scholar class was created as a result of the civil exams, and this led to the romantic ideal of the scholar, in which collecting antiques was integral to constructing this very romanticized, fantastical image of the scholar literati. So collecting antiques was therefore seen as a marker of cultivation and connection to one's history. However, interest in collecting Chinese art developed much later in the United States due to missionaries traveling to the country in the 18th and 19th centuries. Thereafter, Gilded Age millionaires such as the Rockefellers, the Freer, and Sackler families also became very interested in collecting in this category, and their collections are still seen in museums today. Thereafter, collecting interest in Chinese art in the United States grew due to missionaries traveling to China in the 18th and 19th centuries. And subsequently, Gilded Age millionaires such as the Rockefellers, the Freer, and the Sackler families became very interested in collecting Asian art. Many of their collections are still in major institutions today. The categories selected here today represent 3 of the most sought after collecting categories in Chinese art. So the categories are Imperial Qing ceramics, Buddhist art, in particular gilt bronze figures, and Chinese paintings and calligraphy. I will now be introducing our first object. Here we have our first piece, which is a coral ground and blue enameled brush pot from the Qianlong period. Qianlong was the 5th emperor of the Qing dynasty, who reigned from 1734 till 1796. And during his reign, he was a prolific collector and connoisseur of Chinese art and antiques. And under his reign, the imperial kilns at Jingdezhen reached a technical perfection unseen in previous. So the lustrous quality of this coral ground showcases the technical perfection of the firing in the imperial kilns during this period. And furthermore, this brush pot is beautifully decorated with very saturated blue enamels to depict rockwork and floral sprays, which was a very popular subject matter not only in Chinese ceramics, but in Chinese paintings as well. And the most interesting aspect to me of this brush pot is, of course, this beautifully enameled base. It has gilt decoration and has been molded to resemble an actual wood stand. This is something we call the trompe-l'oeil effect. And trompe-l'oeil is basically a highly realistic optical illusion of 3-dimensional space and objects that is applied to a 2-dimensional space. And Qianlong loved the trompe-l'oeil effect so much that he specifically commissioned painters to install murals and frescoes on the walls of the Forbidden Palace that resemble exterior scenes and very realistic figures. And continuing our exploration of the trompe-l'oeil effect, here is a marvelous wall vase that uses a very similar technique to depict an object of another medium, and it also has, like the brush pot, an associated stand that is meant to resemble an actual wood stand. Now the wall vase here, we know it's a wall vase because when you look on the verso, it has a flattened back as well as a notch in the middle here for hanging. So in this piece, you can see the same attention to detail and the pursuit of technical perfection, particularly to enameling. On the vase, there is a central lotus flower surrounded by a profusion of floral scrolls. What makes this piece very exquisite is the fact that they have outlined the floral scrolls in gilt, thus replicating the effect of cloisonné. And moving on to another collecting category, here we have a Buddhist bronze from Tibet, and it was created during the 13th to 14th century. This Buddhist bronze depicts the Buddhist Aksobhya, who is one of the 5 wisdom Buddhas. His name literally means the immovable one in Sanskrit. Here he is shown seated in a very dynamic posture with the right hand touching the earth and the left hand on the lap. This actually recalls a very important Buddhist story regarding the Buddha overcoming the temptations of the demon Mara. And after he has triumphed over all the temptations and reached enlightenment, he touches the earth with his right hand, indicating that he is calling to the earth that he has victory over his temptations and his challenge. Another detail that is very important to collectors today is the way this figure is cast. As you can see here, the lotus base is very prominent and the leaves are very round and voluptuous. This is very characteristic of Tibet in the 13th to 14th centuries. Another detail that definitely places it within this time period and the region is the remnants of the casting spruce that you see here on the head and at the base here near his ribbon. Another detail that would be very appealing to collectors is the application of gold to the face. This is a process called the cold gold technique and was reserved for pieces of the most prominent position in Buddhist ritual. And here we have something in a completely different category, and this is a calligraphic album. So this album was created by Chen Baochen, who was a famous Qing Dynasty philosopher, scholar, and writer. However, he is probably best known for being the teacher of the last emperor Puyi. Let's briefly discuss how to look at Chinese paintings. Now, one of the first things to look for is the title slip, which is indicated here. The title slip will often contain the title, as the name suggests, but it also will contain important information such as the artist's name and the artist's seals. These are all qualities that a collector of Chinese paintings will look for. Now let's dive deeper into this album. When you open the album, you'll see that there are multiple characters written in standard script. If you can read Chinese, you'll quickly realize that this is actually an eulogy Chen Baochen wrote for his dear friend and mentor, He Yiqing. Their relationship was not just a professional one, they later became relatives when their descendants married each other. Another interesting fact about this album is that it was once mounted as a scroll. And what's fascinating is that at one point, 32 characters were actually went missing from the scroll and was then rewritten and remounted by Chen in this album. So you can see here the evidence of that remounting because of the difference in color of the paper from the rest of the album. So the fact that the family has kept this album intact and preserved for generations shows the importance this piece has in their family history and ultimately proves that Chinese paintings can have an incredible emotional resonance that will draw any viewers in once they take the time to understand the message. So I hope I've introduced the diverse range of categories within Chinese art for collecting. Whether you're looking for rarity, quality, or provenance, we have something for everyone. And what's even more exciting is that these objects are all available for handling and viewing during our previews in the Los Angeles office. Our preview dates are from December 10th to the 13th, and the auction itself will be on December 14th at 3 p.m. Pacific time.